Guys, so it's 2005. We're out watching War of the Worlds, Charlie the Chocolate Factory, and somebody in the charts is trying to tell us the way to Amarillo. Also, Oracle and various other companies, Sun, etc., are still trying to tell us that thin clients are the way to go. And most of the world at this point realised that this isn't really the way we want to go, but some companies are still at it. Now, those of you that have worked with thin clients and were working in the industry at the time will be familiar with these kind of thin clients. The HPs, Dell did some, Wise did some, everybody who had a go, and if you were really early, NCD did X terms and things like that. But at this stage, you know, 2005, it was starting to realise that, you know, we weren't necessarily really going to want to go this way. And tablets were, as you know them, were a long way off. And so Fujitsu came out with this thing. This is a Windows CE.NET powered remote desktop thin client. So it does have some abilities of its own. You can see the screen better than I can. But really, it is just remote desktop. Now, this has some use in this form factor. Obviously, if you want to carry these around, do portable computing, these are wireless. They had a reasonable battery. They had very early lithium battery packs in. And obviously, then depending on the server at the back end of everything, you got a reasonable amount of processing power in your, well, around your neck. These two were ex-demonstrators from Fujitsu. We had a number of items from Fujitsu Pulse Systems, which is where this came from. We don't have the batteries for them. Unfortunately, they were well beyond rescue. We did attempt to rebuild one, didn't really get anywhere. We looked at using them briefly when we got them around 2010, and really, the idea had died. At 2010, we had mass-produced tablets kicking around that we could use to do the same job. So they are in effect self-contained machines in their own right. You can use various programming languages to actually program and do things with them. Natively, there is some support for ODBC, but it's all very limited. Even Wi-Fi was still early days at the point that these were kicking around. These cannot do WPA, let alone WPA2, so you're stuck with WEP. And I don't even think they do 54G, so you're stuck at the basic 10 megs. So we'll have a quick poke around in one of these. I've got two here. This one here, which as you can see, actually works. I will probably keep this one just for nostalgia's sake, but this one here sort of works. It has slightly different stuff on it, but it's quite manky and quite knackered. So let's pop this one open and have a quick poke around the inside. So good night. These do have lithium batteries in them, which are knackered. So you have a resistive touchscreen here, a very basic keypad. Curiously enough, this is enough to navigate around Windows CE. On the back, you've got your missing battery. This is only a 2-cell battery. It's not enormous. You have a CF card slot, which normally has a door over, as you can see on this one. And then you have an amazing, are you ready for this? The size of this, and this would have been a big disc at the time. A whole 64 meg. Amazing, isn't it? Come on, focus. Focus. There we go. So yeah, so other things we have under here, let's have a quick poke around. We have a battery, a backup battery. This not only backs up the clock, calendar and everything in here. Let me just zoom you down a bit more. There we go. There we go. This not only backs up the clock calendar, but it backs up static RAM in here, which serves as a non-volatile storage. There is a switch just in here that allows you to disable that. On the top, we have a PC card slot, which I seem to recall is empty. Yep. we have this, which is, I suspect, serial comms. I've never been into one of these actually. Yep, we have some very, very odd serial port in there. And then we have a hole for a stylus, which is there. On this end we have a USB port, and that actually proposes to be a headset jack. We have a connector for some kind of dock on the bottom there, and then obviously your battery. Sorry, I'm having trouble framing this. You've got your battery there with your switch to completely isolate everything, and a power jack. So let's see how we get into this. Oh, we've got a reset button there as well. I'm going to go for the undo all of the screws. My camera rig is still upside down. This also, despite the fact it uses an unusual connector more commonly seen on Samsung laptops, this is actually a 12 volt power supply that this requires. There is one in there. There is one in there. The screens on these are active matrix, but I'm not sure what kind of technology they are. Not very good. Got some long screws coming out of that, and I think we should be in. Oh, we need to take these off first. Off with those. Now, do we get anywhere? We've missed a screw somewhere by the feel. Definitely has that missed screw feel about it. Nothing under the lid. Oh, something under there? Nope. Nothing under there. That one is definitely out. Ah, well, that's just unkind. Get him out. There we go, we're in. It probably will pay us to be this way up. Yep, we haven't quite got that one all the way out. Any more? Right, I have a connector here. Let's just pop that out. And there we go. Just spread that out so you can see it, and we'll zoom you out just a little bit. So, predictably, there's not actually much in here. I didn't feel there would be. So what we'll do is we will zoom you back in again. You'll get dizzy at this point. And we'll have a quick look at one half and then the other. So there's really not much of note here. We have a backlight inverter up here. Just pop him out. So older screens like this used a cold cathode display. This generates a high voltage for this. This is quite nicely built compared to some of the ones that you typically see. If we get this to zoom in. Am I too close? Yep. So there you go. There's some nice insulation down there on the high voltage side. We have the LCD itself, nothing special there. We have a ribbon here which is for a touchscreen. So as I said, this is a resistive touchscreen, which means you can use things to touch it rather than just your finger. They do have this stylus. It's actually a good thing in this environment, because if this is being carried around, people are potentially going to be wearing gloves or things like that that can disrupt a more traditional sort of stylus. We have the LVDS connector over here for the display. This looks like a fairly standard run-of-the-mill laptop sort of screen for the time that these were made. Let's pop this one off. Come here. Yep, just gonna pop that out. LVDS, and not sure what that one is. That doesn't appear to really go anywhere interesting. It does have an earth, so let's get rid of that. Sorry, I've just got Captain tape stuck to me. So we're free. I'm just curious what this ribbon is. That ribbon there is the keypad. So that's that done. Goodies! So can we zoom you in just a little bit more? Or we're about there, aren't we? I've raised the camera a bit over the last video. So, interesting things in here. Compared to a modern tablet, there is a lot going on here. But again, you know, we're quite a lot more recent, quite a lot older. So let's just have a quick look. Can we see any date codes in, obvious date codes in here? 0502. Bear with me. 0405. 04. 05. So yeah, 2005 is about right for this. So what have we got in here? We have an Intel ARM processor here. We have die bonds direct on the board, which is unusual for this era. Let's just bring this back up again. I will get better at this, I promise. So you have die bonded chips, which is really quite unusual. You've got your Intel processor here, Intel ARM. The IT chip here, I'm guessing, will be general purpose I/O. These look like either ROM or flash. They are flash. They are actually M Systems disk on chip modules. There and there. I apologise for the slightly shaky camera work, because this looks awful on the screen to my side. And then the rest of it is just glue logic. There's not really much exciting in here. We have a connection here to our docking port on the bottom. And do I take the board out? I think we'll take the board out. I don't expect there to be anything interesting. So let's just pop this ribbon out. Ultimate end of life for this one. As I say, I'm going to keep one, so I will probably keep spares. This one has ever such slightly different software in Flash. This has some example software in the Flash. I think that we will file that under cruel and unusual, because that looked like it's bonded. So that's our expansion connector. Let's just bring you in. Will it focus? No, it doesn't want to focus on that. So that's our expansion connector. This here is quite plainly, obviously, Wi-Fi. That won't be anything interesting. It looks like a single module type solution, which some of you may be familiar with from if you've worked with things like the ESP32. It looks like a very similar sort of arrangement there. I'm still working out where my focuses are on these. Do we have any information on this? Oh, actually, no. That is quite obviously Bluetooth. Didn't know these had Bluetooth. So I would guess that we have more goodness under here. That looks like a Wi-Fi card under here. And there's certainly an aerial over here. Change of screwdriver because that is jammed in there. There we go. So that is nothing more. That's heat staked on one side. Why would you screw and heat stake? So that is our USB and headphone jack. What should we take out next? We will have that. We'll take both of those out because it looks like we ain't going to get anywhere with a wireless card without doing that. And we need to take the motherboard side of that earth strap out as well. Remove our inverter connector. So we have printed circuit boards, Wi-Fi antennas. There's nothing uncommon about these. They are used often enough now. Pop those out to one side. We have another daughter board here, which is our weirdy serial connector. Okay, let's look at that. Looks very much like the kind of connector that a lot of the game consoles used. Again, same sort of era. Right, board. One there. I don't think that's one we need to take off. It looks like there might be something on the other side of the board, which I wasn't really expecting. Have we got anything else holding us in? There is one more somewhere. That will be these for the PCMCA slot. So a lot of this glue logic here is going to be the PCMCA slot and the CF card, which are just really extensions of the bus, so they're the buffers to drive that. Right. It feels like we're forgetting something somewhere. It's quite well attached right there. Are we attached by the battery? We might be. This is rapidly turning into the pull all of the screws out until we get somewhere. Right, we're still not really moving. I think that is actually stuck on and not helping us. There's a screw hidden there. You can see that screw on the camera, I can't. Are we out? We're out. And power jack over here. What do we got in the bottom here? Nothing really. Absolutely nothing. We've got a little tube there for the stylus. There is more on the back of the board. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on down there, what that SM microchip is. We've got an Intel PXA ARM, I think they call it PXA, not sure. Yeah, it's a PXA chip, it's an ARM based Intel chip, and I think that is possibly combined with this because there's no graphics on the onboard ARM. I believe that this is probably a graphics chip. More bus drivers, loads more bus drivers there for the PCMCA slot, and quite possibly the mini PCI. And then we have a mini PCI card here, which gives us our wireless, fairly standard mini PCI slot there. Fairly standard sort of power supply gubbins under there. We've got our reset button. There's a 5 amp fuse, that seems excessive. And then our mini PCI card, which is not really anything special. I'm guessing probably an Intel card. Sorry, I'm off camera. It's not an Intel. I don't think I've got anything over here that I can break through that Captain tape with. Yes, I do. Don't worry, none of this is what I would consider essential. That's an Intercell chip on there, an ISL 3880TK. Can't say I've ever seen that one before. We've even got a bodge wire on there. So yeah, that really is all there is to it. It doesn't seem a lot, but when you put that pile of pieces against what's in a modern tablet, bear in mind that this is, it's arguably whether it is a computing device in its own right. CE was a full operating system, so I suppose you could technically call it a full-blown tablet, but it was meant to be used with remote desktop. It has remote desktop on there. It makes a big thing of remote desktop on the other one when you fire it up. So I'm not sure I'd want to use remote desktop over the wireless of that era either. I can't see that ending well. So, but yeah, compared to what's in a modern tablet, which would quite likely, which generally wouldn't even be much more than that, with the use of single chip solutions, it gives you an idea of how far we've come. Missed a bit. Anyway, thanks for watching. Still getting used to the camera. Get there eventually. Bye.